So hi everybody, my name is Yulianaa. It's a pleasure to meet you guys and it's a pleasure to be present here today. So I'm a CEO of a company called Playfusion Labs and pretty much we are a game development studio. We are quite young. We are only like 1 year already, like fully in the market. So we are specializing actually in game development, different stages of different products, like various type of games, starting with like RPGs, strategies, Web3 gaming, mobile games as well. So we have very diversified products in general. And also what we do, we actually started to work with startups, which are more relevant for business-wise in terms of how do we connect actually business and gamification as well. So this is pretty much what we are in. Yeah.
Arman?
Yeah, it's my turn. I'm Arman Atoyan. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of the Arloopa, which is 10 years in the AR and VR development. And we are 16 years in the software development at large. And last few years, we are playing the game as more venture studio. So we are investing in AR and VR startups. And we have currently 7 companies in our portfolio. Basically, we are looking for subject matter experts who have some insight how they can revolutionize their industries, how they can disrupt their industries. And we are partnering up with them. We are becoming their co-founders, and we are taking all the tech development on our shoulders based on our 16 years experience, and we are making sure the tech is done, is delivered, and in a high quality.
And guys, for those of you who maybe just got here, I am Paul the Prophet Dawalibi. I spent most of my career building or backing startups. I focus now all on gaming. I've built some very big companies and some very small ones, but gaming is my lifelong passion. And I will just start, I will kick this off by, I'll talk about my own company for a second because I want to get your view on something. I like to start with the 30,000 foot view, the big picture here, okay? My company's name is Holodeck Ventures. Does anyone know what holodeck actually means? What that reference is? No nerdy Star Trek? Nobody? No one grew up, well, okay, one person grew up watching Star Trek. It's a very nerdy reference to a room on the starship in Star Trek, okay? And in short, you could go into this room and you could ask the holodeck for anything you wanted. You could say, I want to go skiing in the Alps. And all of a sudden, the holodeck transforms. You have snow under your feet, you're high up on a mountain, the air is cold. To your brain, to your senses, all of a sudden, you're skiing in the Alps, okay? My simple view, and I want to kick this off and sort of hand it over to you guys, is my view is human beings are going to invent holodecks or something like holodecks. And it's probably within all of our lifetimes. Give me what you think this immersive future looks like, because we've spent a lot of time over the last 2 days talking about mobile, hyper-casual, tiny screens on your phone.
Tap to earn.
Yeah, tap to earn. Give me the polar opposite, the other extreme end of the industry. What does this immersive end really look like to you? Give me the view of the future.
Okay, that's a great question, and I believe I will also recommend the audience to go and watch that. And I believe that's really important to get the kind of see the vision that the people been able to place back in 60s.
60s, the original series, and then 80s and 90s for Next Generation, and then some 2000s for Deep Space. We can spend a lot of time talking about Star Trek. But yeah.
Okay. So if we will just take the current reality and try to explorate it. So we are seeing that the human beings are trying to digitize everything. They are trying to digitize their life. They are trying to digitize their experiences. And eventually the virtual reality is covering only the part of it. It's your 2 senses. You can hear and you can see. And now we are seeing a lot of startups are really getting solid amount of funding to take care of the smell sense. So it means a smelling is also going to join to this. And taste and the touch. We know there is a lot of companies are working on the haptic feedback. And definitely if we will just try to forecast 10 years from now, we're definitely going to have all these techs to come together to immerse human being into the virtual environments where they can feel, smell, touch, etc. So if we will try to go even fast forward then and a lot of people are actually afraid from this. They are saying, oh, the humans might not live in this world anymore. They might escape to the other reality, which could be the case. But I believe the technologies are created for a good, and the humans are always smart to not destroy themselves, but to try to find the better solutions for them. And I believe on some sense that can give us more freedom, and they can give us more abilities that we don't have now. So for instance, I might think twice to jump from the parachute, but if I can know that I'm still at the office or I'm still at some entertaining zone where I can have that feelings, but making sure that I'm safe, I might go there.
I like this idea. All the senses activated, and a virtual world where I can be even more good looking than I already am. I like this.
I have
Yulianaa?
something to add up for
Yeah,
sure.
I would love this.
So right now we're kind of facing some issue actually with like VR development in general, because it's still not really fully adjusted to different criterias to the 21st century. So the development cost is too much, it's not enough content. Like VR glasses themselves are not very comfortable for wearing. A lot of people are getting dizzy from it and so on and so on. And just the platform itself is not really that advanced yet to actually give the proper experience of like living in the other reality that we're pretty much just describing right now. But the question is, where are we going to actually with all of that? So I do believe that whatever we develop right now in terms of like VR reality or AR reality is actually not really for us, it's not for our generation, but it's actually for the new generation, which is just upcoming and which is just growing up right now, because the way they actually consume things, the way they actually interact with like, I don't know, let's say immersive worlds is completely different, because they were born already with their phones, they've been born with technologies, and this is pretty much where we're going to. And like previously, one of the speakers was saying, like generally where we're going to, we're actually going to simplicity. Like for example, let's say, before it was some part of entertainment actually to go to the shop and like choose your groceries and choose your apples and choose like try on the like a dress you want to buy. But right now it's not there anymore. So like actually we're speaking about the young generation, all they want to do actually is to simplify the process to save the time. So pretty much the technology we are developing right now is actually going to be the technology which is going to be super well advanced in the future. But right now, it's not there fully yet. So an idea is that we're building right now something which we might not really even use ourselves like in some time after, but definitely eventually it's going to transform the reality of humanity from living in the real life, of having actually few different real lives at the same time, but just in different immersive worlds. So yeah.
I love this idea of existing in multiple realities. I'm just curious though, just to get a feel on the audience. Guys, how many of you have actually tried VR or a VR experience? Raise your hands. Keep them up. Keep them up. If you've tried VR, you tried it, you were at someone's house, or keep your hand up if you enjoyed it so much, like you play VR regularly, or you do something on VR or even AR regularly. Why are none of you here in your Apple Vision Pros? I expected like half this conference to be walking around with them. Okay, that's pretty good, actually. That's a pretty good smattering. But I ask this because in both of your answers, both of you guys mentioned technology, right? And every other panel here, today and yesterday, no one's talking about the future of mobile depending on, you know, what the next chip in the next phone's going to be, right? It's not even part of the conversation in other segments of gaming. Is hardware really the major obstacle and challenge? Like, what is it that we don't have good enough VR experiences for the masses? Like, what are some of those major challenges that gets VR from, you know, a few million headsets to a few 100 million headsets?
May I say something just
Yeah,
like shortly?
Yulianaa, yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of different challenges we're facing right now because, as I said, technology is not that advanced yet. It's not really comfortable. But I think actually the biggest issue we have right now is like having VR really popularized, that there is no like killer app which actually would make all people get engaged with VR. So like right now you have some like library of like some games, and usually it's considered more as like a device for entertainment and stuff. but it's not really something for common usage. It's not really something what you really would love to buy for the sake of like experiencing something in particular. So like right now, there is no such a killer game or killer application itself which would actually make you want to actually go there and actually spend hours and like hours of actually living this like separate reality. So this is like a major issue.
I like this idea of a killer app. I just want to push back. What do you think that killer app's going to look like? If you had to guess. Other than the games you guys are making.
I mean, honestly, like Pokemon Go was not something I could imagine, but it was a killer app for AR, right?
True. Although, to be fair, Niantic has not had a hit since then.
Yes.
They have not been able to produce another huge success like that. I don't know. Is it hard? Like, what is that killer app you think that's going to be, maybe for VR specifically?
I mean, since I'm myself really into gaming, I hope it's going to be really related to gaming, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure. Maybe it's actually going to be some software, which might be actually connected to the chips. That's what pretty much you were saying before, right? Because I mean, like right now we have some certain imagination like of how the VR set looks like, but maybe it's going to be completely other technology, like which is going to be coming up like within the next 2 years, which is actually going to give you a complete sensation of actually like going like fully with your brain, with your senses, to the immersive experience. So this is actually something I do believe people would love to experience like in mass market, because like right now to say like let's develop something what's going to let you actually just to see the other world or to see something, maybe if you're going actually to develop the graphics so much in like VR, that might be a chance. But still, I mean, it comes not only to visualizing it, it comes to feeling it, and like there is no technology right now yet which can give you like all this like sensation. Yeah,
I'm convinced Elon Musk's Neuralink is part of his make games great against strategy, not anything to do with healthcare. Arman, I'm curious, what do you see as the obstacles? Is it hardware or is it something else? Is it the killer app? What is your view on?
I believe everything has its own parts. So the hardware is still costly, and like if we will take the Vision Pro, it's a great device. We have one at the office, but there is no many applications for it. So we get it. We've been like child. Everyone tries, but there is no use cases to use it daily. So the second thing, I agree, the killer app or the app that will have the retention that brings you several times of the day, that's the killer app. But we here need to be like very careful. It's maybe not the one single software, because if I will think or ask you in a way, what was the killer app for the PC? What you will answer?
Microsoft Excel.
No.
Oh.
Nobody was.
Word processor.
No.
I don't know how I failed this test.
Internet.
That came way after.
No, but like that, it came after. But when the adoption curve get the like a slightly up, because the Excel is like boring thing. It's only for accountants to sit and count, like do the stuff. The regular people was not going and buying the computers because there is an Excel.
I agree with you, yeah, completely.
But when there was an internet, there was a millions of possibilities. And I believe in this case, if we are discussing the hardware, then we need to think of some application which might not be the software. That might be also on a different level. Like you mentioned, the Neuralink. Maybe it should give you the different, like the different magnitude of the use cases that will stick you to the device.
But that's still a hardware problem though, right? Like if we categorize where the issues are, I've heard killer app missing, I've heard hardware not good enough yet, and I've heard cost.
Yes.
Right? If we sort of put it into three buckets. Is that fair that you guys feel those are the three problems that need to be solved?
And on the content side, I can comment here as well. I believe now we're going to finally see the adoption curve like really going up, because the cost of the content production is going to be like a pennies within the few years. Like we know that with the growth, like what we are able to do now with the text is, but with the chat GPT, I believe it will be OpenAI or maybe different software company, but it will be asked to get the entire words, asked to get entire 3D content, and that will help to create that killer apps.
How do you guys think you solve for the chicken and egg problem that sort of exists, which is like, there's a lot of headsets out there, but not nearly as many as Sony PlayStations or Xboxes, and as a consequence, fewer developers make games for VR.
Yes.
So how do you guys think we incent developers to create great VR games if the install base is not there yet? And obviously, making great games should lead to an increase in install base. So there's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem. Which one's going to come first? Is it the great games or is it the larger install base? And where should we be putting gas?
I mean, like, look, let's be honest about like PlayStation, for example. I was like checking out like a history of PlayStation recently. Actually, what was the time when it actually got popularized? What was the reason for it in particular? So their strategy was actually to fill up the platform with as many unique and cool games actually as it is possible. So it is like one strategy of development for VR as well. Or either way around, it can be one killer app as well, which we're just speaking about. So, I mean, it's hard to predict it, but I do believe that as much as we're actually going to develop right now something new to experience to people, this might lead us that VR actually eventually will become a PlayStation. But still, like, PlayStation was not such a game-changing thing as VR is, because VR concept is super different from what we can experience. It's not like watching something on TV. Yeah. And I think that the biggest issue which we have right now, that people who are capable to buy themselves some VR set, because it's quite expensive right now, let's be honest, they're not really the audience which is going to use actually these VR sets. So it's a new generation which is actually a right audience for it, but they're just not capable of that. And so we are kind of moving towards a century where we're developing, as I said, something for the new generation, for them actually to use it as like a general tool just to actually interact with the world. This is where actually AR comes to the first place, and then VR comes as the next stage to that. And so yeah, I think our focus is actually of developing something new and make it usable for everyday life, because like right now VR set is like more to like PlayStation kind of, but just different style of it. So it's something where you just go to kill your time and just like, I mean, enjoy some games and so on. But it's like a social factor which is existent right now in the market, where you just don't really feel like you need it. There is no need, there is like no such a rush, and it's too expensive for what it is. So yeah, a couple of issues.
As an investor, I only care about financial returns, but I have heard moral and ethical issues brought up with respect to VR especially. Mm-hmm. Arman, do you think we should be concerned about the next generation being plugged into headsets? Is this something we should be addressing, something we should be stopping or like dealing with? Is this a real issue, or is it an invented issue? Is it like rap music in the 90s was going to destroy us all and didn't really happen? Maybe it destroyed some of us, but or is it a real issue?
Yeah, today I came across with the very interesting meme. It was saying like the parents was afraid of us to use the internet, but now we need to be afraid of them to use the TV, which makes a lot of sense now.
True.
And I believe we should be careful. I think the ethical part of it is very important. So there should be certain kind of, like any technology, if you are giving a technology but not educating the people how to use it, then you might run into the trouble. So the same here, and I believe it should be some sort of like, if we are speaking about the parents giving those headsets to their kids, they should like carefully, observe them, like what type of content they are consuming. Or I believe the same is, there is some responsibility on the game designer's side as well, and also the hardware manufacturer itself, because like for instance, at the beginning there was no limit on the Oculus headsets. After certain research, they put the limit. They said like it's after 12, so you should be 12 in order to use the VR headset. So I believe those concerns are real, but we shouldn't extrapolate them and like making like everybody scared about that. Like,
but do you think it's offset by any benefits? I prefer doing Beat Saber for an hour than sitting in a gym on a machine. Do you think there are benefits that VR brings to the table, especially to youth, to kids?
Absolutely.
That offset maybe some of the risks?
Yeah, here the best use case that can come my mind is, and I'm always communicating like this. I'm saying, imagine how many villages or far parts in the country that those kids are not getting the quality education because of the access. We know that everything is happening in the capitals mostly, like good schools, good laboratories. So the VR could be technically the solution of this. And with the VR, a lot of people can access to the good quality content. And if we will consider that in the near future, we're going to have the AI instructors, AI teachers that could live in these virtual realities. They can be really helping the people. So you can imagine you are buying a VR headset and the software, and this is actually one of the killer apps that you can get a lot of skills trained within the VR.
Yulianaa, do you have any thoughts on the intangible benefits or tangible?
I have something to add up from ethical side of it.
Oh yeah, I'd love your thoughts on that.
So some time ago, I was reading actually one article about US government being extremely concerned about the new generation, being kind of capable of ruining completely the economy situation, in general, and economy in general. Because new generation is very different. Basically, they don't really want to work hard to achieve some small goods. They want actually to enjoy their life. So pretty much, your first question was actually, where are we going to? Maybe we're going to be plugged to some, other computer, different reality. So there is actually a real need, which is appearing right now, even within the older generation, where people just would love to escape the current realities they're living in. And with, a new generation, which is, super open-minded, super wild, and so on, they just don't want to live in this real world because honestly, it's complicated one, you know. So yeah, this is why I personally do believe in immersive worlds being something very important to escape to, because right now pretty much people do escape still to some more calm locations where it's more joy, more stuff like that. But imagine if you can just switch on some device, plug yourself in there and just appear with all of your senses on Maldives or something like that, yeah? Or into space or into super cool party somewhere. That's awesome, right?
I can comment on that because we have a very interesting use case from the Portugal. So she, the founder, is a professor at the university, and they are doing the research on the healthcare. And currently they are researching how they can create a retreat that can long, let's say, 10 minutes, but you can get, let's say, rest for a week. That sounds like a killer app, no?
That's, if I can get a night's worth of rest in 10 minutes, that definitely sounds like a killer app.
But how they are achieving this? They are creating these environments where they are activating different senses, like smells. They are putting their special infrared light. So they are simulating that you are in outside of the city, in a beautiful place, within the certain music. So those kind of applications, I believe, are going to add more and more values in future.
Yeah, Yulianaa, go ahead.
I actually had one question which I find quite interesting to discuss right now. So you remember at some point it was extremely popular to go to 5D cinema, where you had some smiles appearing and your seats moving. But do we hear about it right now? It's not existent anymore, actually, but it's sort of something was before VR, where you could still go and just watch something and kind of feel like you're interacting with something going on there. So what do you think is missing right now, actually, for real? Because if you speak about gaming, it's a pure interest which is driving you toward there. But where do you think this interest might be hidden within VR headsets or immersive reality in general? What's missing? Why did 5D cinema fail?
I would argue VR replaced it.
Yes.
Right? The VR is a much... and it comes back to the original question of what is immersion, right? Is it every sense activated? Because 5D is cool, but not every sense is activated. I can't touch, what I'm seeing on the screen. I can't interact with that thing on the screen. So it was maybe a stopgap in terms of immersion. Arman, I'm curious. That's a good question.
I think
we should be doing this.
I think we can discuss very interesting topic here. I would like to address to audience, guys, who has watched the Matrix movie? Matrix. Who didn't, I'm recommending you to do, because this is profound, kind of like a movie about the immersion and being immersed into the virtual world. And within the movie, there is a very interesting quote. Like the Morpheus was asking to Neo, like, what is the reality, right? And I believe we are within all this hardware. When they will come together, it will be very hard to define the reality. And in some sense, some people might even prefer to be in a world that they have like a full freedom. Maybe they don't like the gravity and they can be in the world where there is no gravity there.
No, but Arman, you bring up a great point, and it actually is a great segue to my next question, because when we're talking about immersive worlds, that can take on different forms.
Absolutely.
Right? And snow crash. Let me forgive me. I'm going to say a dirty word here. Metaverse. I hope I didn't offend anyone. But this idea of a metaverse for me was always just a fancy word for gaming and virtual worlds, right? It was the word you used when you didn't want to
describe what is it exactly.
No, when you had adult investors in the room and you didn't want to pitch them something that felt like it was for kids, right? So you said, we're a metaverse. We're not, gaming is for kids. But it's fundamentally gaming, right? But this idea of virtual worlds, immersive worlds, metaverses, if you want to call them, right, can go in different directions. In other words, like the Matrix, right, that virtual world was essentially a replica of the real world. Almost one-to-one. All the same rules, all the same limitations, all the same things, right? I can see the other extreme where it's complete fantasy, right? If we're thinking about virtual worlds over the
Avatar. Let's take the Avatar
right?
film,
Yes.
for instance.
Where do you think we end up on this spectrum? And is it some hybrid? It'll be everything will be available? Is it that we will have virtual worlds or immersive worlds that are just like the real world, but I can go kill people if I want to without going to jail? Like, where do we end up on this spectrum in terms of immersion and what those virtual worlds look like?
It's addressed to me, or
either one. Do you guys have thoughts?
Okay, of course.
Yulianaa, I want your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a very
Is this
generalized...
dystopian or utopian? Are we going to be... Am I going to be fighting for my life in this future virtual world? Or am I going to be king?
I mean, I think it's going to be both. I mean, like, what do you think Instagram is like a very positive feature or very negative feature? It has both sides. So, I mean, every kind of unicorn actually has good and bad sides as well. So, I mean, definitely some people are going to get lost there, and some people are going to be saved in there from the anxiety, from stresses, from reality, whatever. But the other people actually are going to forget about their real, like, living experience. And I mean, you might find yourself at some point like really disconnected from the reality. So, I mean, it's hard to say. It's like, it depends on how do you personally use it. It's a tool in the end of the day.
But meaning, if the virtual world is the same as the world we live in, just digital,
it's boring.
Will people escape to it? Will they want to escape to it? Maybe to have another life there? Like,
I mean, the beauty of it is, I mean, it's quite hard in real world actually to create your own rules of playing this game. I mean, let's agree kind of that we all are kind of living in a simulation sort of. But I mean, the rules are already been existent there before we came, and so they're just like developing, improving, something has changed and so on. But immersive reality gives you a possibility actually to create your own rules of your own gameplay. And this is where it's like becoming like really game changing actually. So it doesn't really come only to senses, to like whatever, you can experience like completely different lifestyle, like which you actually have created from the scratch. And yeah, this is what I find the most fascinating actually about it.
I will answer with my personal story. So the first time when we came across with the VR, it was the Oculus DK1, Development Kit 1, and basically that time the Oculus, not the Meta, was not shipping to Armenia. So it was only a few countries. I asked a friend in Germany who kind of like ordered that, and I take it to Armenia back in 2013, where like there was no VR, or like the people didn't know that. But like why I was bought into that, because I saw the answer to that exact question. So VR is giving the ability to create the different worlds that can't exist with the current rules, that can't exist, like a travel in a time. That was some fiction that the people been obsessed for a while, right? Like thousands of years. So the VR is the answer to that. So it can allow you to be whoever you are. And I believe the biggest fail for some of the companies who've been creating the VR content was that they've been trying to replicate the existing life into the VR. So became became a truck driver. Okay, that's cool.
I don't know. There are some weird people who play truck driver simulator,
The one in our
or like
office,
power
like-
wash simulator.
Or like house
I never
flipper,
thought
right?
power washing.
Artak is doing that.
I always wondered who plays this.
He runs the
There you go.
restaurant in VR.
Okay, there you go. But meaning there is some audience for that. But I see your point. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest promise of the VR to me was to be able to create this, like to create the virtual worlds that don't exist, or travel in time, travel to future, be the, I don't know, astronaut.
Yeah.
So me and you maybe not will have chance to become an astronaut because it requires extensive training.
I really wanted to be a power washer. I don't know about you guys.
Artak can give you good suggestions on the good software.
Guys, talk to me about. We can extend this to AR, but VR especially and immersive worlds. Are there other industries, not gaming,
Yep.
that are going to be massively disrupted by these immersive worlds, that will be impacted by these immersive worlds? Is anything going to be under threat? Right? So maybe people in this room are working in retail or in education, you guys mentioned, right? What industries are going to be impacted by really great VR and really immersive experiences? Yulianaa?
It's quite an interesting question. I didn't think about that before, actually. Maybe actually real estate. It might sound weird at first, but think about it from this perception. If you're going to be living wearing your VR set only all the time, you will not really need to have like a property you're looking for right now. So you'll be happy kind of living in a very small one
true.
bedroom,
That's
like
true.
whatever. Then, I mean, I'm not really sure if you're going to go to the point where, I mean, it's going to collapse the world and you will not really like need to go out on the street anymore. Then it comes to, I don't know, like clothes, like to anything what pretty much makes you to look like who you are. Yeah. So I mean, like social appearance, I put it this way. Yeah.
It's interesting that you hit on something because the people next door may want to hear this, but ironically, right? If you're plugged in 24/7, you made me think about it. If you're plugged in 24/7, you're right. I don't need a big apartment, but I may need a big virtual apartment. Now, finally, there's a reason to go buy
Tokenize
digital, digital land. And I
Yeah.
may need digital clothes. The NFT people are going to be
Oh,
finally
yes.
we're back, right? Like, but that's an interesting thought, right? Fashion and real estate
Yeah. Maybe
negatively
something else.
impacted,
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. I mean, you'll not really need to have actually like a proper office anymore for, I don't know, like whatever kind of consultancy or whatever. You'll be able to invite someone else actually just to your virtual space and actually just have a lecture, lesson, whatever. I mean, all of this hall wouldn't be needed, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it can make quite an impact in general, but I need to think a bit more. Maybe you have some ideas as well. I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm more believer to augmented reality compared to
Okay.
virtual reality. So I believe the beauty of the augmented reality, and specifically it will be within the glasses or pair of lenses in future. So the augmented reality is giving you the superpower within this existing reality. Imagine like the use case: you arrive to Dubai, you don't know like where it's located, this convenience center, you don't know the language, but then with this superpower you can have everything aligned. You can like within the few clicks, like I don't know, see the Dubai how it was looking like in the 70s, let's say, or you can instantly get ability to talk with someone who talks to you Arabic, so you can convert it instantly into the English or any language you speak. You answer and your speakers can give it back to the Arabic. So that's why I believe the augmented reality is more connected to our physical world, and that has like a lot of real life use cases, and we are working on some of them. Actually, we till to now don't afraiding of that word. We are saying we are building AR metaverse, and we still don't
Interesting.
afraid of that.
Okay, it's good. There are some people. Look, I did a book on the metaverse, so I'm
proud of it.
I'm
Be
equally
proud of it.
responsible.
I wanted just to add up something shortly, if you
Yeah.
don't mind. Like recently, actually, I've seen one video which actually did put me into tears, and comes to the topic where, like, VR experience or like whatever what comes close to AR can be actually extremely beautiful and powerful for disabled people. So this video is actually about the woman who was not able to hear. So like whenever actually she was communicating with sound, imagine like you don't have hearing. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like
that's
it's really weird to imagine that, right? And she always had to use some special, like either person nearby or like to use like a language, like which you use like your hands full and so on. But it's been invented technology to put on glasses, and they just like writing you down what the other person speaks. And this woman, she was literally put in tears because like it just eases down her life so much. But let's imagine if you're not able to walk, if you're not able to even like, I don't know, do some basic stuff, and you get to have like a VR glasses set which just reacts to your eyes movement. Super life changing. It can be like super beautiful for people who are living already there but who cannot experience the real world as we do presume it. So yeah.
Yeah, the A in augmented reality with when you're talking about the disability side, almost a misnomer. You're not even augmenting, you're replacing, right?
Yeah. That's more VR use case probably.
Yeah. Guys, I want to talk about. I'll just throw mine in actually before because we have a couple minutes here. And most people, maybe this is a bit taboo, but I actually think the entire adult industry gets disrupted by very immersive VR. And they're almost always the first adopters of new technology. If you look at sort of the history of tech over the last 20 or 25 years. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the early use cases for really, really immersive VR, where all the senses are enabled.
Activated.
Guys, I like to finish on a vision of the future. Give me one thing that you think will blow people's minds when you're thinking about what does the future of VR or AR look like? What does it bring to the table? What does it bring to humanity? Give me one thing that you think is going to blow the minds of the people, the lovely people who are sitting here.
You, ladies first.
Not putting you on the spot or anything. Not like this question was not on the list.
Me. Again, it's like a hard question to say because pretty much what I do believe in, like since we discussed like 5D cinema already, so like right now, the current headsets which we do have, it's also like one of the steps to where we're actually heading to eventually. So I actually do believe that Elon Musk is doing very well with his Neuralink, and this is where we're actually going to, because this is kind of a thing which can actually eventually give you another level of freedom in your immersive reality, let's put it this way. So I do believe that at some point we're going to be able actually to experience completely different reality. So I mean, we're going to be able to separate our life into our real life, right? And like to immersive life, which might be like done with completely different, I don't know, personality, look, like whatever. You can be representing someone else. And this is where we're either going to go to, I don't know, to space and like everything is going to be bright and beautiful, or the whole world is going to be completely collapsed because of that. So pretty much this is my thought about it, like super random
I
one.
like this. A future with only two extreme scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Arman, you're blow their minds.
I will just say one sentence maybe. The future is augmented. That's the one thing that I want to resist. But I will give one use case that, like, pretty much I like that use case, and I believe it's like has lot of interesting sense in that. So all the kids had that imaginary friends, right? And even now, like recently, there was a movie about the imaginary friends, and when I was watching that movie at the cinema with my kids, I saw another perfect AR use case. That with the AI-powered companions, you can have certain kind of friends that you can have different kind of conversations with. Yeah. Imagine you have like Albert Einstein in your room, and then you can have a conversation about the physics, and you're gonna get the information from first hand. Yeah. So that kind of, I believe, imaginary friends, I will just give one topic. So feel free to follow me for the rest.
I agree. I said it at the beginning of the day, that gaming and definitely immersive worlds, VR worlds, are the killer app for AI.
Yep.
The people next door maybe don't realize it. They think it's so that we can ask Chat GPT, like, how many days since, or to my birthday, and it'll give you, like, no, like, the real killer app is populating a virtual world with beings that we cannot tell if they are human or not. To me, that's the end goal.
Top level.
And I want to thank both of you, because I think, my view is, and I spend a lot of time looking at the gaming industry, that you guys, both of you, are really building what is the future of the gaming industry. That although mobile and play to earn and all this stuff gets a lot of attention, where we are all going inevitably, in my mind, is really kind of deep immersive experiences, escapes from reality that I think we can only dream about and only see in the movies today. But it's coming, and guys, big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you guys so much.